you're very welcome to our podcast, Unmuzzled Conversations, with me, Christine, and my brother, Stuart.
Hello.
We are a weekly podcast out every week, and we are talking about old Glasgow and Glasgow that we grew up in and our own experiences of living in Glasgow these days. But at the moment, we are halfway through Stuart's story of this incredible adventure that he took in his very early 60s. Today we're in part 3 of that.
Part 2, Kirsten. Is it not part 2?
Part 3?
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. We're in part 3 of this one because we've done 2 episodes already. Part 3, and what's coincidental is that, and I'm pleased we're actually doing this at this time, is that this is Stuart's 10-year anniversary. So really, it was in 2014 that Stuart took off in this incredible adventure, and so it's a kind of a way to celebrate with the 10-year anniversary. You're still alive, still here to tell the tale, and to take the story to a wider audience, not just for our family and friends, but now the opportunity to take it even further. So thank you to everyone who's already commented and said how much they're enjoying the podcast already. I wanted to talk to you, Stuart, do a wee bit of a recap and then talk to you about why you decided to do this trip, why you decided to do it on your own.
Right. Well, I was at as you recall, I was in a really, really low point in my life at the time. I had been working basically in the same job since I was a teenager. I had gone through good points, bad points. I had done well at certain times and done very, very badly at other points. People who have worked with me would probably tell you that. But things moved on. And anyway, I was in my early 60s. I'd been doing really well up to then. The sort of latter point in my working career was pretty successful. But then I kind of fell away again and I was struggling and I couldn't really understand why. And then I think maybe at the end of the day, it turned out my memory was really getting bad. I'd never in my life had a good memory. And then because we were in technology and we were getting updates and software, and I was really struggling to update myself, my own mind with it. So I was struggling. I was still doing okay, but I was struggling and I felt really, really bad about it. Then I get made redundant, and so you're then thinking I was 62, I get made redundant, and it's not as if the job did come to an end, but I was not successful in that job. So I'm thinking, how am I going to get another job here? Yeah. I don't have any. I feel like I've got no prestige to carry forward. I don't have any. I've got success stories, but they were maybe 4 or 5 years previously. So the whole thing really worried me. And then my wife Geraldine had said to me, "Well, you're really down about this. What is it you would like to do?" And I said, "Well, I'd like to travel." I said, "Where do you want to go?" I said, "I'd like to go to Africa." And she was shocked. I said, "Okay, well, where do you want to go now? I'll book you a ticket now." It was just before Christmas, the Christmas of
2013.
2013.
Yeah.
And so she said, "Right, where do you want to go?" I said, "Well, I'll start in Algeria." She goes, "Algeria?" I said, "Well, yeah, I'm interested in Algeria. It's really an edgy place. So it's more than edgy, it's quite dangerous." But I thought, well, I really need to challenge myself. I really need to when I got there, I didn't deliberately put myself in a risk situation, but the situations were already there. Yes, I just fell into them, So that's what I did, and I survived it. It was a couple of very, very difficult situations early on, 2 within 12 hours. But I was okay. And then why did I go on my own? I went on my own because I feel I was reckless, and I don't mind being reckless about myself. I really don't mind. At that point, I really didn't care. I lived or died, I didn't care, and I didn't want to be burned to death, But as far as death itself was concerned, it did not worry me, because that's how low I felt about things. But I had 2 friends who were both in a similar situation to me, and they were retired or they had chucked work, so they could have come with me. And I approached both of them, and I didn't want them to come with me. The situation worked out really well. I didn't want them to come with me because I didn't want the responsibility of their lives on me. Mm-hmm. But at the same point, I felt, well, if I was in their situation, I would like to have been asked. But I asked both of them separately, and both immediately said no. So I thought, that's good. That's good news for me. There's nobody else I could ask, because I couldn't ask somebody to chuck their work and come with me for months. Because remember, I was going to go for 6 months. That was the plan. 6 months minimum. Yeah. So that was why I went on my own, and I was really relieved. I had only responsibility for myself And so I went, and I know that all my family, not all my family, but well, apart from my son Kevin, my oldest son Kevin, he was quite keen for me to go. I said at the time, I question your reason for this, but everyone else, without fail, everyone else was very much against it.
Your wife, of course, as well, was
of course,
supportive too.
but once you realised what the situation was.
Yeah.
But anyway, Algeria was a place I really wanted to start off with, because I thought, well, other than Libya, there's no any more not dodgy, but there are dangerous places. But it was quite close. I felt I could kind of edge myself into Africa via there. I was going to go to Morocco and then go south and try and travel the whole way around Africa in 6 months with public transport.
Yeah. So that was the whole purpose.
That was the purpose,
to travel around Africa for 6 months on public transport. That was the whole idea. So just actually thinking, I didn't realise that it was so soon after. You're saying Geraldine booked your ticket just at Christmas, and you were away in the February, Stuart.
Yes.
So I mean, it was I didn't know that. So
5
it was
weeks.
a very 5 weeks.
5 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, because it's not as if you had to go and buy a new wardrobe or anything like that, is it really?
Well, I did have to buy
vagrant stuff. Vagrant stuff. Aye. So it all happened very quickly then.
Mm-hmm. And as I said to you before, there was a lady that I lived near me at the time I was quite pally with, and she used to go to Nigeria from time to time, and she warned me, what to wear, what not to wear. Don't wear anything that's worth anything. But if you go to certain countries, everything. I mean, a Levi jacket which I wore is probably worth quite a lot.
Yeah.
But just normal desert boots and normal cargo pants
no
type of things.
Jewellery or watches or phones or anything like that.
I mean, these are copper bands that you got me. These are for arthritis, so I didn't even wear them then. I had a watch. I didn't wear my wedding ring. I had absolutely nothing ostensibly of any value on me.
And then, of course, you bought a wee burner, didn't you? You bought a wee...
I didn't take my iPhone. I took a Nokia burner, which I've still got.
Have you?
Have you still got
we'll need to get that on. We'll need to get a picture of that, But you bought that, again, for the same reasons, that you couldn't have anything valuable on you, because what may seem not valuable at all here in other countries with different cultures is a completely different kettle of fish, and you don't want to put yourself, you don't want to be obvious looking.
No,
because the fact that you're...
At the end of the day, I didn't realise that at the time, but in more recent journeys, I've been to Africa again, and I've met up with quite a few girls. I met these young women in Marrakesh, and they had travelled, and obviously being a girl, they're in danger for all sorts of reasons, but everybody who's travelling and has a rucksack is of value, because almost everybody who's travelling has access to money.
Yeah.
Whether a lot of people, young people, quite wealthy, got wealthy parents, could be easily be grabbed. So I would never in a million years say to anybody, go where I've been. Don't go.
Yeah.
But look, here I am. I'm okay. These two girls, the two girls in particular, I get quite pally with in Marrakesh. That was about 4 or 5 years ago. They had actually travelled separately. One of them was Spanish, and one was from Moldova. And I thought, how did you meet up? And they said, oh, we met up in Marrakesh. Did you come here separately? Yeah. Oh, my God.
Brave women, I would never have
a single rucksack
that,
and no weapons. I thought maybe have a knife or something on them, an obvious sheath knife. Nothing at all. And they were fine when I left, and I hope I'm sure they would be okay.
Amazing. You've definitely seen the non-touristy side of being in the Mediterranean. So let's have a quick recap, and then I just like to talk about why you were on the way to Malta. So we've kind of the last episode we had, you were just leaving. Where am I now? You were just leaving your friends.
Khalid and his family.
And where was that again, Stuart?
I don't remember.
Tunisia.
That was in Tunisia, the country of Tunisia,
You were leaving Tunisia to now go to Malta, which wasn't actually on your original plan to go to. So maybe you'd like to just remind us, I'm sure we've talked about it before, why you had changed your plans and now we're going to Malta. I think you said for 2 weeks you were going to go.
I ended up going. It was a month. I went for a month.
Right.
It was because I was in absolutely no pain, but it turned out later I was having heart problems, and I was feeling really, really tired.
Yes.
Suddenly tired, like out of the blue tired.
Yes.
Not having run or anything, just out of the blue. And my wife Geraldine. Now again, we have to remember I was going to go away for a long time. So taking a month out wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
And if it meant I could go back to Africa, which is what I wanted to do, it would have done me. It was fine, So I had spent a month or so in Africa, and my wife Geraldine says, "Look, I'm going to. This is March by this time. I'm going to phone up and I'm going to get you a hotel in Malta. Please go there for a month." and just recuperate. I thought, well, okay, I'll do that because I'm fine. I've got all this time.
You've got all
to
this
do
time.
it. And she says, I'll come over for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. So and we did. I went there, and she did come over, and there was a good story about that.
It's
as well.
a nice story, yeah. So I just want to show everybody. Unfortunately, this book is not able to be purchased because it was a limited edition, wasn't it?
Limited to the amount of money I could afford to get it.
Limited
But
to the amount of money
Chrissy,
Stuart had.
I've got a PDF version of it.
Okay.
And if anybody wants it,
Right.
you can get in touch with us, and I'll send them a PDF version of it.
So this is Stuart's. It's almost like a journal that you wrote. Encapsulating everything that had happened to you as it happens, which makes it such an interesting read. So it literally starts from when you left Scotland to coming back to Scotland and everything that happened in between. And the one thing I loved about it, it's a lovely picture on the front. Is that your coffin picture? I remember I picked out a coffin picture for you. I found a lovely picture in here and I said to Stuart, you know what, Stuart, that's a good coffin picture for you. And he kind of went, I said, you know, when people die and they put a nice picture of you in the coffin, on top of the coffin, that'll be your coffin picture because it's so nice. So there's lovely pictures in here of different landmarks and different people that you met along the way, and a big sheep that you found in the mosque, which I loved so much. A couple of
the world's biggest sheep.
Which you said it was almost like the size of a cow.
It was donkey sized then. It was huge.
Huge size.
And remember, I'm surrounded by sheep. Where I live, I know a bit about sheep.
You're
now.
a bit of a sheep guy. And we maybe not want to go into that too much detail. But the book is written in a great way because it's written a bit like a journal, and it's written as if he's talking to you personally, which is a great way of writing. Some lovely pictures, and also he put in some screenshots of some of the Facebook messages that were going back and forward. So it's a really interesting read, and this is where I've taken all my notes from today. So that's us. We're kind of leaving now Tunisia, and you're now planning to go to Malta, and you've just told us the reason why. So that brings us to, because you for every place you go, you have a title for every place you go, and this section is called A Mentalist in Malta.
Right.
So you arrive, and I think the first thing you start talking about is your clothes, because of course, remembering it's what month are we in? Maybe March
but
then.
it's cold.
So it's a little bit
cold.
off season then as well. Lots of old people, you were saying, like a kind of like homes had been shut and they'd all been sent over to Malta type
all
of
these miserable
situation.
old bastards who found it cheaper to be in Malta or anywhere out with the UK,
So I think one of the things you first started talking about was your clothes, but of course your wife was coming 2 weeks later and she was bringing you new clothes, so you just had to kind of deal with your vagrant. You suddenly felt a bit more vagrant-like now because you were with people that had always had their holiday gear on. You know what I mean?
Glossy, they're all yellow, like me here.
Yeah, like you, exactly, sure, exactly. So you get there and you check into your hotel. I think it was quite a nice hotel. I can't remember the name of it.
I can't remember.
And you're looking for a pub because it's one of the things that you definitely found a lack of throughout your travels.
Well, I remember in Tunisia, I found one pub. I don't think I told you. It's one pub. I met this couple. He was French Canadian, and I think she was American. And I said, "Hey, pubs, and they said, there's one." But they actually took me someplace where you could get drink, and it's not as if I was buying a crate of beer, but you felt it was quite furtive, buying like a 6-pack of beer, and they'd won. The only beer they sold was called Celtic.
Oh.
Beer called Celtic.
Or should it be called Celtic?
Well,
the spelling's wrong.
Anyway, so I goes into this. They told me where this pub was, and it was a great big building, and there was maybe about 60 to 80 youngish men in it. Nobody over 40, all wearing the uniform, black jackets, mostly leather, black trousers, black shoes. Right? Everybody is basically black t-shirts as well. Almost everybody's wearing the same clothes. No light clothes at all. So I'm there in my vagrant gear, which is quite light. So I'm there, and I thought it could be quite sinister. As I said before, I'm the only person who looks like me. I'm the oldest person by at least 20 years. So I'm a standout, maybe for the wrong reasons. So I have a couple. Nobody's bothering me, but nobody's very friendly either. Nobody comes up and speaks to me, which is quite unusual because most folk did speak to you, even if they want to, fucking cadge money off you or something. But anyway, nobody did. But and it was just bare tables and bare seats. You know, nothing fancy.
Was
nothing.
it an actual, like a proper bar
No,
front?
no. I can't even how you. I think it was like a hole in the wall. You went up and just bought stuff through. It was okay, but it was very, very basic.
Bit strange.
And it was all just no draft beer, just this bottles of
Yeah.
Celtic beer. So anyway, so I have a couple of bottles of beer.
Must have been really thirsty, Stuart, really.
And I'm getting a bit bored, you know. And I went out and sat outside, and one guy did come up to me and started to fucking panhandle me, you know. And I think that's so fucking degrading that somebody's, you know, going to buy me a beer. I'm going, no, buying you a beer. You know, buy me a coffee. I don't buy you a coffee. I mean, I actually went and said, "Oh, this is how could a man, a middle-aged, oblique, elderly man, he looked quite smart. He wasn't as if he was a tramp. But I was a lot worse dressed than him. Anyway, so I goes, everything's okay, and I goes to the toilet, and I'm just, you know, using the toilet. It's quite busy, so I might be in the queue or whatever. I'm waiting to get served, you know, get into the toilet. Anyway, and I remember I said before that in Algeria, when there's people speaking Arabic, in the middle of say if you want to call it a paragraph of speech, there would be a sentence in French. And I picked up the two businessmen. I remember when I was in the back and they're talking to me in Arabic, and one of them said in French, he says he doesn't understand us, but he does understand us. We're talking about me. Oh. And that's when I don't think I mentioned that. That's when I thought, fuck, I'm in trouble here, potentially. And I was holding on to the handle ready to, you know, just fall out the car. Anyway, so I'm in the pub in Tunis, and these two guys are talking in Arabic, and they said l'étranger, which means the stranger or the foreigner, right? Now I'm thinking, now I'm the only fucking étranger here, and it must be me they're talking about.
For the étranger.
But nothing happened. They must have just said, oh, there's a stranger here, there's a foreigner here. You know, maybe, but it was totally innocuous. But they never spoke to me in any kind of friendly fashion, which I thought was unfortunate because I'd been quite happy to speak to them. But anyway, so that was like the end of the kind of pub situation I was in. You know, I thought I'd throw that in. It's
just a kind of British culture thing, really, a pub, isn't it, Stuart?
Especially the kind of friendly pubs, you know, people that talk to you. But anyway, so, you know, I'm flying out. I remember getting a taxi and I'm going to the airport and there's tears in my eye. I'm thinking, fuck, I'm leaving Africa. Jesus, I don't want to leave. I'm going to come back. I'm definitely coming back. And I'm thinking especially of Sofiane from Algeria because he has become a great friend and he was very, very helpful to me. Although he dropped me in the shit sending me to the Heartbreak Hotel because he had been there in the summer and it was lovely. I'm sure it was.
Sure it was.
But in the winter it's
nightmare, the opposite.
You know, as I say, opposite like a prison. But, and there's no, you know, an empty
but he
prison.
Have known that,
no, of course he didn't know that. He was apologies. But I was sending photographs of him back. Of course, I've got, you know, younger, you know, daughters and grand. Oh, he looks nice. They're good looking young, and they were all quite keen on him. They were all dead keen to meet him. I says, well, I'm hoping that someday he can come over and meet them all. You know, but I've obviously met him since. But
you've been over to his wedding in that sense, haven't you? Right.
So I was leaving all that behind and very, very sad about it. You know, and then although it's no, I mean, Malta's no far away. It's only about 90 miles away, and it's actually further south than the Gulf of Tunis. So it's actually, in a way, it's nearer Africa.
South.
It's nearer Africa than Europe, but it is European.
Mm-hmm. But it's just it wasn't your plan, and Malta being a kind of a touristy thing is not what was in your mind in terms of your destinations at all. How were you feeling at that point when you because I get the impression that you thought it was a virus that you were having. It was kind of okay one day and then not so good the other. Or?
It was getting worse, Christine. It was getting it was like. Luckily, there was no pain involved in it, no aching bones like we have now. 10 years later, it was just a kind of tiredness. And I thought, well, I don't want to be in Africa and end up in hospital or end up somewhere that's going to cost a fortune to get me out of here. You know, so I thought, no, Geraldine's right. I'll just go there. I'll recuperate and I'll go back.
Thinking it was a virus.
Aye, and I was all ready to go back to Libya.
Yeah.
Despite what Sadiq told me that I will be killed in the first day.
Yes,
I thought for €45 a one-way flight, that's no bad. Anyway,
and it also arrived at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night as well.
That was it. I'm not good. But anyway, so I was thinking, I was feeling sorrowful that I was leaving Africa. But then I thought, well, I arrived in Malta and I felt relieved, and I thought, well, if I do take on well here, it'll be obviously easier to get me back. But I've complete faith in the Algerian and Tunisian their hospital services. The hospitals look really, really nice, you know, look okay. But again, it might be money. Oh, probably was. Yeah. It probably was, you know.
But then you don't want to be in that position and away from your family in a foreign country and stuff. So that wasn't really in your plan at all. So this virus kind of pushed things out a little bit.
As well that I remember I said that when I was in the Heartbreak Hotel, which was before I left, I got Geraldine. I was sending me emails, text messages, and I thought she was coming over.
Yes, I remember that.
She's not coming here. She'll hate this.
Yeah.
She'll go mental. And I kind of hung about for about 3 or 4 days till we cleared it up. And then she says to me, "There's no fucking chance I'm going there."
But unfortunately, it meant you to endure a few more days in the Heartbreak Hotel.
3 or 4 days in Heartbreak Hotel. So anyway, so that was all behind me now, and I'm now in Malta.
I'm feeling a bit sad, but realising that from a health perspective, that was the right thing to do.
I've done the right thing. Absolutely
it was the right thing to do. And as you say, thinking you had months and months ahead, it didn't really seem too much of a diversion. What was the weather like when you got to Malta?
Enough, when I first arrived in Malta, it was lovely.
March then, Stuart?
Yes, the sun was splitting the sky. It was really pleasant, not hot. Malta gets really, really hot. But it was fine. It was absolutely, the sun was shining away. And I stayed with one of my daughters who lives there. Michelle lived there, and her family. I stayed there for maybe a couple of days, maybe 2 days, and then by that time Geraldine had got me the hotel in this fucking death home for the elderly.
Aye. You don't know these things at the time. But so when you arrive there, you're kind of on the lookout for a pub with entertainment.
Aye.
So that brings us to the story about you feeling you've arrived, first of all, in relative safety. You're kind of relieved as well to be there.
The pressure's off there.
And this is recuperation time now for you. This is time for you to have a rest and go back and get on with it. So you've said at that time of year the place is full of coffin dodgers. That's the words that you used. And you're now on your 4th SIM card.
That's
because
right.
little did you realise that every country you go to, you needed a new SIM card. But you certainly soon found that out. Is that expensive then to get a new SIM card each time?
Not at all, Christine. In some of the countries, it's just a wee bit awkward because you've got to show your passport to get a bit of paper that says you can buy a SIM card. It's just it's hard to believe, It just shows you again how stupid I am because the guy that I first met, Khaled, I met him on a bus. And he says, "I'll take you to where you can get a SIM card." So when we goes in, it's a big modern shopping mall, and I went in to get it, and the guy says, "He said, I can speak perfect English." He says, "Yeah, get your SIM card." He says, "But I need to see your passport. I need a copy of your passport." What? And Khaled says, "Well, I'll take it next door to the photocopiers."
Yeah.
I says, "Okay." So I said, "How much will it be?" Whatever it was, I gave him the money, went away. Now he could have disappeared with that. But how stupid can you be? But I did things like that a few times and was never caught out, but very, very lucky. And I should never have let that out of my hand. Yeah. I'm just so impatient rather than me going for it, which is a case that he could do it quicker, so on you go.
But if people have been kind to you, that could almost be a really distrustful thing for you to say, "No, I want to keep my own passport."
No, but it's still the right thing to do, though, Christine. It's still the right thing to do.
I would have done that, though. I would have done what you done. So it worked out okay, I suppose, in the end. So you're on the route looking for a nice wee pub, and you find a country and western.
Worse than that, I walks in. I think I'd been to a couple of places before that they were just dead. I mean, Malta it's a smashing place to go. I couldn't recommend it enough. It's very, very quiet. For instance, there appears to be no hen nights. It's too far, I think, for that. It's too far for a weekend. It's a 4-hour flight, plus all the fanning about before and after you come back. So you don't get many. It's quite cheap. Everybody they drive on the left-hand side of the road. Everybody speaks English and they like the British people. They like us. So there's nothing wrong about it at all, other than it's full of old people.
Yeah. And at that time, though, Stuart, is it even full of old people in the summer as well, or is it just the off-season?
But it's great.
It's always been known for that, though, Stuart, really.
But there's a lot of young families go. It's not a rowdy, raucous place.
Yeah.
There seems to be very little crime. There is almost no graffiti. So there's never a sense of violence or threat about the place, So it's a very, very quiet. No, some places are busy like everywhere else, but overall it seems like a very nice place. But anyway, I've been to a couple of pubs, nobody in them. you know, or old people. So there's a kind of rowdy pub. I thought, oh, I'll nick in here, you know. So I buys a pint of cider or something, and I'm looking about, and I went, oh, fuck. It's a fucking karaoke bar. Oh, fuck. I don't like karaoke, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, I'm going. And then worse than that, it was a country and western karaoke bar. I'm going, for fuck's sake. And it was every bit as bad as it sounds, but I sat there and just went through it all. And then later on, I just must have stayed longer than I thought I did, because later on it kind of thinned out, the crowds thinned out, and I had bought like my third pint or something, and I never leave it, you know. I'm going to sit through anything, but I've got to finish this. So I'm sitting here. In the end, it turned out maybe only about 10 people left in a big bar, and I thought, they're all country and western looking. They're all into this. I mean, they're hardcore. They're still here. And I thought, and then the people got up and they start kind of singling people out, you know, and who are regulars. I thought, I'm a cert to get singled out here. Absolute cert to get the piss taken out of me. But it didn't. I must have been growling quite a lot, because it just completely blanked me, you know. So that was not the best
Regulars
night.
Only?
Aye.
Is this the story with the Motability scooter?
Oh no, that's
the wrong one.
That was a different hotel. That was a really.
Was that the same night though?
No, it was a different time. I mean, I was there for a long time, Chris. I was there for a month. So for 2 weeks I was on my own. Yeah. And Geraldine came, and after I'd been there a week, so she arrives. I was looking forward to her coming in. I hear, you know, the taxi, and I went, oh, she told me what time she'd be arriving at. So I'm kind of waiting for her in the lounge. I went, oh, that's brilliant. So she comes out with her case, and who comes round the corner? My granddaughter, Kaylin. I didn't know she was coming. She was about
surprise.
6 or 7. All mouth. Oh, we're all happy. I'm delighted to see her. And she stayed there for. Now, she was actually taken out of school for this, which I'm not going to believe her in. But anyway, she took her out of school. So she was warned, Kaylin, do not say anything about this. You're ill when you go back, right? So she stayed for 2 weeks. She goes back to school. So she goes back into school, and she had a note saying that she was ill. And the teacher says, so where were you, Kaylin? She was in Malta.
Yeah, but that's just typical though, isn't it?
Aye.
So Geraldine comes, and so comes the new clothes, Stuart.
That's right, yeah.
So your lovely Hugo Boss.
Hugo Boss stuff, and really nice things. Horrible prices. I mean, prices.
Yeah.
To this day, I don't know what they cost.
Best not
but
to.
they cost more than a tenner.
So that must have been nice. You said you felt a little bit conspicuous in the beginning because of your vagrant gear.
Well, I didn't have things like shorts and things like that. I just had I had 2 pairs of everything. I had 2 pairs of, you know, the cargo pants and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
3 pairs of underwear and 3 pairs of socks. But that was it. I was really travelling light. You know?
Yeah. So it must have been quite nice to put yourself into the nice clothes.
I felt like I was gleaming again.
Yeah. I think I remember something about Geraldine says, and it's about time you had some real food. Is that right as well?
It probably was. I was eating a lot of the street food in Africa. I really liked it.
Yeah.
You know, it's very, very simple, and you know, I have to tell you this one as well. When I first arrived in Algiers, it's, you know, Algiers, and I was walking about outside the hotel, and there was a market, right? And I don't even know what they're eating. You know, they're eating some sort. I can see it's chicken. You know, I spoke to him in French. It's chicken, right? And the guy goes, sandwich. I went, and frites. I went, the frites, yes. Sandwich. I went, yeah, sandwich. So he gets the chicken, and he gets a big pile of chips, and he puts them inside a kind of pastry thing, right? And he rolls it up, and he gets a mallet, and he goes. He whacks it flat with a mallet, and I went, right, okay, merci beaucoup. It tasted fine.
Yeah. You got a sandwich no matter what. Whatever you want.
Sandwich and chips. Chips and chicken sandwich.
Heaven, really. So you and Geraldine find the Red Lion, and you kind of decide that that's a nice pub, and I think you meet a couple of nice people there as well.
The family, because Geraldine goes all the time to Malta, I go sometimes. Geraldine goes quite a lot, and they're really nice people, and they spend a lot of time in England. You know, they're Maltese people, but they go to England a lot, so they know what's happening in the UK, and they're into the football. You know, they're into the football. It's obviously I'm into the football and things like that.
And I think you said the food was very nice as well.
Food was lovely. Food was
Lion
great pub
too,
food,
well. So the next thing that happens is St. Patrick's Day. So we have to bring that up because some of the descriptions here, but I don't want to take it away from you, Stuart, to tell the story from start to finish.
Okay, it's St. Patrick's Day, and as a Rangers man, I'm not a big fan of, Ireland and
St. Patrick's Day.
and things like that. So it just so happened that Rangers. First of all, it's a sports bar, so there's TVs everywhere, and there's maybe 6 games on, right? Simultaneously. And I knew I'd been when I was there the week before. There was a Rangers game coming up, and because we were in the lower leagues at the time, it was on the telly because it was a cup game. And they had. So I said to her, "Look, there's a Rangers game on like next week, Sunday or something like that." I says, Could I get one of the? Could you have it on one of the TVs? He goes, yeah, I'll put one on for you. You can have that one in the middle. So that was fine, right in the middle. And there's other games going on in a bit. So St. Patrick's Day comes, right, and so Guinness have special offers, and it's half price Guinness, right? So and I've got these big black Guinness hats on, So. And I'm watching the game, yeah, and he does about 10 big lasses. They must have been, I don't know, fucking enormous, basically. I don't know whether it was one of these slimming clubs outings or something, but they were all big, heavy lasses, every one of them in their 20s. And of course, I'm trying to watch.
Are they Maltese lasses?
Yes, they are. They are Maltese, aye. So I'm trying to watch the game, and they've obviously been drinking for a long, long time. My game starts at 3. They were probably guzzling for before midday. But of course, I'm watching the game, and they're all fawning about, literally. And I thought, they weren't aggressive, but they were blutered. Yeah. I mean, totally blutered. And I thought, they all get slung out. No, they're still buying. And maybe the guys behind the bar thought, we want to get rid of the Guinness, keep firing them up. So eventually they're doing all the mental things that young people do. They're on top of the table, but they're falling off, right? So they're falling off. And they're landing next to me and rolling about. I'm trying to watch the game. So that was really, really funny. But nothing bad happened out of that. But, oh, jeez. I wish I'd filmed that. I mean, honestly, I could have made a fortune out of that. It was just so funny.
Was Geraldine with you that day? No, she
was away back, I think.
Oh, she was away back.
And had another week. She was there for the middle 2 weeks. I was there for 4 weeks. So she must have went back, and that was like the middle of March, end of March, yeah.
I had a wee question here, which was, where was the PC you were using?
In the different hotels.
Oh, different hotels. I just said, was there an internet cafe? Because
it was quite good. Most of the places I went, I could just use their PCs, and they were fine with that.
Because of course you wouldn't be able to with your Nokia, because it's not a smartphone. Did she bring you your iPhone?
No,
she didn't.
It was quite funny. I had, like everybody else, I had a Nokia for years ago.
Yeah,
and I had
best
forgotten.
Phones ever.
It lasts forever.
Yeah.
You charge them up for a week.
Yeah.
I had forgotten that, say, to get to like say an S, for instance, you maybe had to hit 3 things, and then you would end up with S.
That's
so
right.
I'd forgotten all that.
Yeah,
how do you do this?
Yeah.
But I've still got it, as I said, I've still got it. I'm going to use it as a burner if I ever need to.
It's a nice memory to have as well, though, Stuart, isn't it? So I mentioned here about sightseeing in Malta. So that must have been when Geraldine was still there, because you went to some place that she hadn't been to before, and it was really lovely. You really enjoyed it and could have made the most of the time that she was there with you, having a wee look about.
We went to sightseeing home. There's a beautiful a town called Medina, which is a way up in the mountains, and it used to, at one time, it was the capital. And it's quite interesting because the Maltese have always been invaded, always been raided. So this place is right in the middle, right in the top of, not quite a mountain, but it's the highest hill there.
Yeah.
And it's basically fortified, and it's beautiful. I think they probably made it okay there. I think most of the people, I don't think they were ever attacked and taken over there. But it's a lovely, lovely wee town. So that's the one I've got most memories of. And we go there every year. We still go there.
Yeah. And the weather was quite nice.
The weather was getting good, yes. It was getting good.
A wee bit warmer, because remembering that you've spent your time in Africa and it's been pouring rain, I mean, a lot of the time, and very cold. Not at all what you were expecting, but then maybe that's what February's like.
Well, they places, they're in the mountains, Only Algiers was on the plain, everywhere else. And then when I went back to Tunis was different. But in the meantime, I was up in the mountains all the time.
Yeah. And the thing I wrote down here was that you were checking out the flight prices to Libya, Tripoli, and you were saying how cheap they were. But all flights arrive at 9 p.m, as we mentioned earlier. But also you needed a visa.
That's right.
That is really what knocked it on the head then, really.
What had happened was my son-in-law, Michelle's husband, he worked for a big French company. They're like I don't know, like a giant company that sells everything. You know, it starts with a C. It doesn't matter what it's called, but a big coumpany. They're in Italy. They're not everywhere in Europe. And he said, things must be getting better in Libya. I must have been talking about. And I said, how's that? He says, we're selling a lot of stuff to them again. They're kind of opening up. You know, this is post the revolution, getting rid of Gaddafi. But, that's interesting. I thought, maybe Sadiq was exaggerating. Maybe I'll be fine, you know. So I did think about it, but I never mentioned it to Geraldine.
Oofed.
So I actually saw it. I had dropped her off at the airport, and I'm walking through.
Is that not what you saw?
I thought that. And I'm walking through the airport, and I see Libya Airlines. I went, I'll go and check out with them. And I saw it. I thought, is it? And the woman says, "There's a sign over there." And I remember a photograph. There's a photograph there of what it costs, and it was only €45 one way to Libya. Flight arrives at 9 p.m. and then also the visa was outrageous, and it even takes a while to get them.
Yeah, of course. You don't get a visa
tend to think you can just go up and buy one.
Not at all.
No.
Have to apply.
You have to
apply. And then you have to be looked at as to whether you'll be suitable to visit Libya. To be honest, but. The time of recuperation ends and you're now ready to book your flight. You decide you're going to go back via Sicily. Mm-hmm. That's the way you're going to go. So did you feel better, Stuart? Did you feel...
I did feel better.
Having that rest and nice bit of sunshine and stuff?
I must have decided I wasn't going back to Africa.
Yeah.
I think maybe I'd been persuaded not to go. But because, I had thought if I could get through Libya, I think it would be an amazing journey from Benghazi, you know, to, there's two huge towns, I can't remember, is it Tobruk? Tripoli to Benghazi, it's about 1,000 miles or something, a long way. I thought that'd be some bus journey that, but then getting back to Sadiq saying I would get killed and I wasn't going to spend a couple £100 trying to get, and I didn't have time to wait anyway. Yeah. So I had thought, well, maybe I could get to Cairo in Egypt and go north to Israel. I'd love to this day, I've never been to Jerusalem, and I'd love to see Jerusalem. Yeah. And I thought, well, if I get that far, I'd maybe go up to Greece, and then I was going to go to visit my friends. I've got 2 sets of friends in Germany. I was definitely going there. So, but anyway, that was knocked in the head because I couldn't get through. I thought, well, Italy, I don't really know Italy. I've been a couple of times, but I don't know it. Yeah. So I went to Sicily, a place called Trapani.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just remember something that I thought was so funny about the weather in Trapani when you got there, and you said the heavens opened with a storm of biblical proportions. That's
what it seemed like to me. And the funny thing was, it was getting really warm.
Yeah,
it was getting really warm in Malta, and and Malta is further south, but it's not that much further south. I thought the weather's bound to get better. We're coming into spring now. We're in April now, and I thought, well, it's bound to be pretty good. I'm going to get myself a hat, a kind of sun hat thing. And luckily I didn't get one.
Thank God you didn't.
The idea of wasting like €20 in a hat I was never going to use. It rained all the time.
So when you got there, you were staying in a purpose-built B&B in, is it Marusa? Is that how you pronounce it?
I can't remember, Christine.
Marausa. You called it the House of Fun. Right, and
no, what they had done, I went into it, and I was in Trapani. I think this was in Trapani. Yeah. And you think, this is so strange. It was like a flat in a big building. It was a lower right-hand flat, and you looked at it, and it had shutters, metal shutters.
There's a picture of it in the book.
But the shutters didn't move.
Yeah, like stapled or like screwed down.
And it was okay, but I thought...
You said it was a bit like a cave.
Well, it was a cave. You walk in, it was complete darkness.
Yeah,
there was no light in it other than electric light. I thought, this is odd. I would like to have looked out, and the landscape was really quite nice. But again, it rained all the time.
So is Marusa in Trapani?
Is that how we are with Trapani, Trapani is actually a holiday resort, which is really nice. Okay. It's a really nice place. Yeah. But I had a rotten experience here. I had desert boots, and I didn't realise that desert boots have got really shiny soles. They're really just for walking about in the desert, and a lot of the streets,
tiled pavements.
Tiled pavements.
That's right.
And tiled areas.
Yeah.
And when it rains, it is severe. It's like walking in ice.
Yeah.
So I did the ultimate. I'm walking along, never noticed. It was raining. I stood in dog shit. Went straight up there, landed on my head. Because there's no damage. It's on my head, so I'm fine. Fuck, this is just mental. Why do you have tiles that you fall
Crazy.
on. I mean, what's that about?
Madness,
Yeah.
absolute madness. So you were staying in the House of Fun. I think you
Aye.
said that was that the one where the ladies just disappeared
Aye.
after the breakfast.
Aye,
They
it's
were away,
gone. Just completely gone.
But you did notice about these school kids that had arrived. The 60s school kids.
No, that was
I
in
in the wrong
Palermo.
place?
That was in Palermo.
Oh,
I moved
right,
on
okay.
to Palermo.
Right,
And
okay.
it was quite a good hotel, but it was really strange. People talk about Italians being dead, rowdy and loud and parking everywhere and they drive mental. It is up to a point, but when you get to southern Italy is like that. I mean, you get to northern Italy, it's completely different. It's like they're Germans or Austrians that speak Italian. Well, in general,
Different culture.
totally calm,
Yeah.
normal driving. People talk normally, but it is quite a different situation in the south of Italy. People shout and scream and park. I couldn't believe Palermo's an old city, but people would just park their car and block a street.
Yeah.
You think, what are you thinking about? And then would come back and shout at somebody. I know, just stopping and get into a shop. It's stopping for ages.
Yeah.
And people are shouting and screaming. What is this
There was
about?
some really good pictures in your book about of parking. Do you know what I mean? And
you
you're like,
think, what kind of subject is parking to talk about? But when you come for the
But
UK,
it's so
and you
bizarre.
think,
Yeah.
why would you behave like that?
Yeah.
Just find some place. No.
Yeah.
No. And also, what I noticed as well about southern Italy, which I never noticed in the north, was there was shops, quite big shops, and they only sold really fancy cakes. Whole shops full of fancy cakes. And to me, as somebody who doesn't know anything about pastries or that, they look like the kind of cakes you couldn't keep for too long.
yeah.
You think that this must all be sold in a day or 2 days at the most.
Yeah.
Big shops full of these huge cakes. I thought, I couldn't believe it.
So they've obviously like that kind
It's
of
an
thing.
Arabic thing.
Did you? I was going to say,
It's an
did you
Arabic-
not mention it was an Arabic thing?
Aye.
Yeah.
I mean, Arabic culture's ruled all of southern Italy, and it must have just left the sweet tooth thing.
But to imagine a whole shop just for that,
Aye.
with the disposable stuff, that within maybe 24 hours is all going to go off,
And a lot of them, Christine,
lot,
and
isn't
not just
that
one
interesting,
section of
yeah.
a shop, a whole shop with counters and counters of big cream cakes, it looks like, Just
Did you see a lot of
different
people
culture.
buying them?
No. But they must have
that's
done.
it. But they must have done, or they wouldn't have
But
been
the
there.
thing is, we tend, in the UK, tend not to shop at night. But then the shops are all open at night, quite late at night. And so I assumed they were sold then.
So the next stop for you is Palermo.
That's right,
Right,
Palermo.
so Palermo, that's where we were talking about the parking
All these
things
kids.
and all that. And where did you stay when you were in Palermo?
I can't remember the name of the
haven't
hotel.
got the
The
name of it
photograph.
here.
I took a photograph
Yeah.
of the place. It was okay. It's like a normal hotel. So I'm in the hotel, and this busloads arrive. Kids, but maybe 50-year kids. Obviously school kids, but 16, 17, and about 80 of them arrived. At least 60. And I thought, right, what's going to happen here is they'll all be up in the morning and they will scoff everything, every single thing that's out. So I just made sure I was up an hour before them, and there was tons of grub for me. I know that I'm not a huge eater, but I like a buffet in the morning, So I'm eating, and I'm just finishing off, and they all descend in the place.
Like
and
locusts.
Everything's gone,
Yeah.
and every 10 minutes somebody's shouting, "You need to get more food out," and then those kids are all growling because there's not enough food for them.
Well played.
So it was
Well played.
well played, Stuart. Yeah.
So the thing I need to talk about now, and it happens actually quite a lot throughout your journey, is particularly when you're in Italy, is you wanting to head off now to Genoa, but depending on these awful travel agents to try to help you out to book your trip, and there's several really descriptive examples of how it's unbelievable actually to think people they just were quite dismissive of you.
Just don't care, and it's you don't like to generalise a kind of nationality, but there were some people that just didn't give a shit, and blatantly rude to you.
Yeah.
And I'm not a patient person, but when I'm dealing with other people, I'm very patient. I know that I'm in their hands, and so I'm very polite. And umpteen times people would just, for instance, I'm getting this bus. I'm in Palermo, and I'm getting a bus to Genoa that must be 700-800 miles away. Genoa is in the very northwest of Italy. It's almost in France. It's not a kick in the arse off of France. So I've got this because I like these long journeys. I like them because I get to see lots of things.
Yeah.
And Genoa, I thought it'd be a good place, and it turned out Genoa was beautiful. I go back there.
Yeah, you said you were
It's
very
a
impressed
beautiful
with it,
place,
yeah.
lovely,
Yeah.
different type of people, very
So despite the unhelpfulness of the travel agents, you did actually get there. You got there.
With quite a lot of difficulty and with a bit of luck. Because
Yeah.
even leaving now, I bought a ticket from Palermo to Genoa. Again, it's just a long, long way away. I think it's about 30 hours journey. It's quite a long. No, continuous,
God.
you know.
Wow.
But so I says the bus, does it say Genoa on it? Yes, definitely. What's the number? So I get my ticket and it's got the number of the bus on it. So I'm looking about and it tells me the stance it should be. So I'm also wary that they don't speak English very well, and I'm saying, well, I'm in their country. I need to show
Plus
a
the
bit.
fact you went very early, Stuart, on all of these occasions to make
I'm
sure
always
that if
early.
anything went wrong, you were there early.
Luckily, just as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I see where the bus and the numbers on it, right? Numbers on it, but it doesn't say Genoa on it. Now, this is something I learned, and everybody whoever listens to this should remember this. Same as in going to Germany or any place, on a train or whatever, the number on the train or the bus is the important thing. What it says on it is a different thing, right? But obviously
So be
check
guided
it. But
by
the
the number.
chances are the number will be correct.
Right.
But still ask.
Right.
So I did ask. I said,
Yeah.
the number. I said, it's no Genoa. I says to the driver's talking to somebody. Again, this seems to be a very Italian, talking away and talking. Completely blank you. Completely blank. So I'm just waiting politely, and I'm waiting for the other person to go away. So I take it there and I'm going, I says, the Genoa, and he goes, no, fucking.
Cheeky bastards, honest to God, that's out of order.
No. Fuck's sake.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering about, and when I goes back to the ticket office, I wait in the queue, and I say, and they're going, yeah, that's it. And I went up, so I go to another bus, and I said to the bus driver, who was very polite to me, I says, the Genoa bus. No, I says, Genoa. And he goes, that one there. And it was pulling away. And it was the guy that
was one
already
that
told me
dismissed you?
half an hour before. And I runs up and he goes, Genoa. And he goes, yeah. And he stops the bus and he growled at me. And he puts my bags in, my rucksacks in the back, and I'm jumping on the bus. And the same thing happened. Now, I'd never told me he was stopping and changing. No, I would expect the drivers to change, but never told me I would be changing another bus.
Yeah.
So again, I get off and I get speaking to. I'm waiting. Okay, I'm getting my bus, and they told me what number it would be, and I said, well, just say Genoa on it. Yes, I'll say Genoa on it. Right now, fair enough. The first bus took me to an area, say halfway up, maybe but Naples or someplace. I can't remember, but he must have known that bus stopped, but it was still the route to Genoa. But because he wasn't going to Genoa, he just said, no, I'm not going to Genoa. So every bus that goes to Genoa must swap buses.
Yeah.
Fucking unbelievable.
So
anyway, so I gets off and I speaks to this African lady. She's in the same, and I'm talking to her, she speaks perfect English. And she goes, yeah. I says, I think I'm waiting for it. I was hoping she was getting the Genoa bus, but she was getting the bus to Milan or someplace. Yeah. I says, so she's talking away and she's helped me out quite a bit. And she says, she says, I don't think your bus will say, I think it might say something else. She says, just go by the number.
Yeah.
So it goes by the number. And I said, so it didn't say Genoa. It said something on.
But it said the right number.
It had the right number. But I said to the driver, you going to Genoa? And he goes, yes, you can speak a wee bit English. I said, it doesn't say Genoa. And he says, no. I think what it said was the region was on it, but it didn't say Genoa. But Genoa was the
destination.
Was the end destination.
Yeah.
So I was quite disappointed in that.
But that's reoccurring throughout your whole stay there. I wanted to also talk about the lovely Ahmed that you met at the station, the guy who had the needle.
He was a lovely young guy,
because he comes up a couple of times.
A lovely wee guy. He was probably
God help him,
a marine engineer or something. He was probably a really clever, spoke perfect English.
Yeah.
Where did he come? He came from Pakistan or Bangladesh. I can't even.
He was like trying to make some money at the airport,
he was
not
selling
the airport,
these
the bus
gadgets.
Stations.
He was selling these wee gadgets that could thread needles.
A needle, right.
I was absolutely amazed. They were only €1 each. So I thought, I'll buy one. I ended up buying 3 just to keep in business.
Of course.
And he showed me
he was so kind as well.
I can't remember. And he was talking away, and my son Kevin saying, I sent him back and I sent a photograph of him, and my son's Kevin said, you better watch yourself, Dad, talking to young guys at bus stations. But anyway, I met him and I thought, I hope you do well, son. He was trying to get to Germany. I think he was waiting to get a visa or whatever he needed to go to Germany.
So there were nice people along the road, but some of them weren't Italians.
He was very helpful as well, though. He was showing me where the booking office was and things like that. Didn't he try to get any money off me? And he was... he didn't try to get me to buy other ones. Every time I spoke to him, I bought another one.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of something,
Yeah. And also, I thought it was worth mentioning the wee dog that was called Sweetie, that had the red coat and a hood. It had a hood as well. I thought, I'm definitely going to get
poodle thing.
Yeah.
And I was kind of, I like dogs, and I'm going to pat it.
Yeah.
And I see its wee teeth. And I went, oh, fuck. I said, what's his name? She goes, its name is Sweetie. I went, oh, fuck, it's not very sweet to me,
I've never seen a dog with a hood before, so that just kind of stuck in my mind. So I've written down in my notes that you're going to Jenna and nearly missing the bus just through bad manners. Honestly, that's all
and
that
the thing
it
was,
was.
Christine, it costs quite a lot of money. Now, if I had missed
But that's
the bus...
a long journey as well, and all these different connections as well.
I think there was only the one. But by the time you connected, you'd been in the bus for maybe 15 hours. So you're not at your brightest, and I'm not the brightest anyway. Yeah. So, but that's why travelling alone it can be quite difficult. You're on your own. You get tired. If somebody else is with you, that kind of thing is much easier. Yeah. So to keep an eye on things, even when you go to sleep, the other one can look after the stuff.
But then you met an old lady that had left her laptop there, and she managed. Well, you tell the story about it, that it really lifted your spirits. She asked you, could you look up there and see if you can see a laptop in the luggage?
Wasn't it there?
And it wasn't there.
And she left it at the station.
She left it at the bus station.
And the bus station, it was like quite an open area we were all waiting in. It wasn't like inside a room. It was a big, like almost like a
was
park.
It outside as well? Yeah.
Just like the one in Glasgow, like Buchanan Street.
Yeah.
So there's people just walking by.
Yeah.
People and bus stations. I discovered this. Bus stations are a mecca for people, for strange people, and for sad people. Yeah. It's not just for travellers. Yeah. As many other people's not travelling as there are people there that are waiting to travel. And she'd left it, and she phoned up somebody, and somebody had handed it in.
I know. So that you said that really lifted your spirits after your experiences of such bad manners and unwillingness to help for the most basic of things.
And it's worth remembering that in those days, I can recall that most laptops didn't have codes on them.
Yeah.
Your laptop just opened.
Yeah.
Press it. And there is no security at all.
Very worrying. Very worrying if that had fallen into the wrong hands. So you're describing the bus journey, and you're saying how much you're really enjoying the bus journey and seeing Mount Etna. And then you change buses.
I saw Vesuvius as well.
Oh, did you? Change buses to Messina. Mm-hmm. And a night ferry crossing.
Well, that was going back to me, Christine. That Messina is between Sicily and the toe of Italy. That's the Gulf.
Am I on the wrong journey here?
No, it's the same one. It's just earlier on in it.
Right.
That's when I left it. I thought we were talking about Genoa there.
Right.
Because I went past that, and I was halfway up Italy when we had to get the other bus. But you're right. It was just beautiful. It was at night, and it was just stunning.
So what was your accommodation like? Were you still in the bus?
Just in the bus.
Still in the bus. And how long was the ferry? Was it a couple of hours? Or?
Oh, no, it was quite short, Christine.
Oh, was it? Right.
It's not a long journey. It's just spectacular. It's at night. Weather's really nice. Bright lights, and you just think, well, to me it's a big deal. Travel from Sicily to the toe of Italy, it's a big, sort of spiritually, it's a big jump.
Very much.
You're not in mainland Europe now. It's a big thing.
Yeah, particularly from where you've come from. And you finally arrive in Genoa, and it's actually the sun is shining.
That's right.
And the next hotel you're off to is called the No Logo.
No Logo Hotel, which is just brilliant. Hotel. Absolutely brilliant hotel.
And what did I write down here? Oh, that when you were travelling around Sicily, you were so surprised to find so many people that had visited Scotland.
Yes, it was
before.
astonishing. People who were actually Sicilians.
Yeah.
Sicily's a long, long way from Scotland.
Yeah.
And you think in between times, in between the area of, I don't know, maybe Sicily's maybe 2,000 miles from Scotland. It's a long way.
Yeah.
Anyway. It's a long way. And you think there are so many places you could visit in that area, in that area where you're going. I always think of the weather. To me, sunshine is important because we get so little of it. So if you've only got 2 weeks in the summer, you really want to go somewhere hot or warm anyway, somewhere sunny. And all these people that have travelled from Sicily and further even, they've got the whole of Europe and even North Africa if they want to go. They can get there for a fraction of the price to get to the UK. And a fraction of the time to get to the UK. Yet they still come to Scotland. They come to London. London's a big important place.
Mecca,
London deserves to be what it is. It's a big important city that's well worth a visit. But to come to Scotland, a small wet country in the summer, I don't get it. I'm glad they come. I'm glad they come, but I don't get it.
But it's funny then, because I was talking to our friends in Palm Springs, and I was saying to them, just to change the subject very slightly for a moment, talking about weather, and they were saying, how's the weather with you? I said, oh, it's just raining and pissing and all that usual thing. And I said, are you planning on coming over this year? And they said, no, we can't for various reasons, but we love the rain. So there is a thing, I suppose, if you come from that type of weather, then when it's always sunny, you don't mind the rain at all. And I think as well, there have been so many incredible films and movies and series being made about Scotland in the last 10 years that it really has driven a lot more people to come and see Scotland.
The only thing, I understand that, Christine. As I said, we've got friends in Germany, and then for the last at least 10, 12 years since I've been going every year, they've had summers that last from April to October.
Wow.
It's still
summer.
Sunny.
Wow.
Still sunny in October when I've been for the beer fest.
Wow.
Every Sunday after it, before we come home on a Monday, every Sunday we're out in the vineyards, are sitting, and it's roasting.
God.
It's absolutely so.
It's hard to imagine, isn't it?
But
for
it's
us?
been maybe overly hot for them. The rain has dropped the level, because it's been so hot. But so they don't mind the rain. The only thing is when you come to Scotland, and the difference between Scotland in the rain and in the sunshine, to me, is spectacular. It's like a 1 to a 10. It's sinister. It can be sinister in rain, but quite beautiful in its own way. But I was driving by Loch Lomond today, for instance, and it was beautiful. The sun was, and I thought, this is spectacular.
Yeah.
But how often is that the case? Whereas if you were, a European, you could go to Greece or I don't know, anywhere in Eastern Europe or Spain or Portugal, France, southern France, for a fraction of the price that it takes to come here. And that's what I don't get.
A fraction of the price when you get here as well, Stuart, because to stay in Scotland in these lovely wee log cabins and cottages is fortune. So it's not a cheap place. It's not a cheap destination
Mind you,
either.
Europe's not the cheap place it used to be.
Well,
Christine.
people keep saying that too,
Really,
Stuart. That's true. So now you are saying that you loved Genoa, and now you're into this new chapter called An Idiot. In Italy, that's what this one's called. You love your hotel. It's got good food. It's got good prices, and the music is just from your era.
Aye, it's to play the same music all the time.
You just absolutely loved it. But we do need to come on to the terrible issue, which might be reoccurring in this story, called the smart key.
Oh, fuck. Christine, in my whole life, I've had problems with keys and with showers. I've never been able to operate any of them with confidence. Yeah. So,
but keys are worse because it involves people outside. You can't get into your room. So you have to embarrass yourself publicly. So at least if the shower's not working, if you can manage without it, or have a wee wash or something like that.
Aye.
But if you can't get into your actual fucking room.
No. I had problems. Somebody had to come up about 3 times to get it to work, they flick it and things. And there's also a much funnier story about keys as well later on when I'm in the Netherlands, But this isn't quite as bad. But they come up about 3 times. They come up and fucking touching it and wrapping it around, and you just do this. I've been doing that. It still didn't open. But anyway, kiss of death. So anyway, so I like it. I really like it. I was only going to stay in Genoa for a couple of days, but I ended up staying for a week or so because I loved it. It was such a lovely, lovely place, and well worth a visit. The area is beautiful. So So I decided I'm going to stay on, right? So I goes down and says, okay, can I book for another 3 days? Yeah, that's fine. So, right, okay, so I booked it and that's fine. So I've still got my key. Not thinking that
Needs
because
to be
they should have, this is not my fault, believe
No.
it or not, this is not my fault. They should have taken my key off me, reprogrammed it or given me another one.
Absolutely.
But they didn't. So I don't know anything. I'm stupid. I don't know these things. So
But most people wouldn't, Stuart, to be fair. I only know because I work in a hotel, but if I didn't work in a hotel, I wouldn't know either.
So anyway, I'm wondering about Genoa, and Tommy McNee phones me. Our friend Tommy phones me.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm talking away about Tommy. So I'm getting to the door.
But also you forgot to mention that there was actually shut. The hotel shut at 9 o'clock.
That's what I did.
And then you were 9:30. This was 9:30.
You're allowed in and out, but you use your own access.
But you need to physically access yourself. There isn't anybody there. So you're thinking, no bother. I've got the key. She showed me how to work it. I've had a couple of babies. I'm speaking to my pal. No bother. No. That is not what happened.
I'm talking to Tommy. We're talking away about the Rangers or something. I can't get this fucking door over there. Of course, you think somebody will come out. No. A great big modern hotel full of mostly young people coming and going. No. I'm waiting there for about 20 minutes. So I think I had to phone them
Yeah, there might be a buzzer or
phone them or
something.
something, and somebody did come out and they're looking at me going, as if you're a total dick. And then, but I haven't said that. They apologised to me later. They just said, we're really sorry, but this is our fault. That's the first time for me.
Yeah, because it was their fault. They should have reprogrammed your team and you extended your stay. So you had plans to go to Corsica as well, but you decided to cancel them when you got a call from Manfred.
That's right. We've got 2 sets of friends in Germany. And he lives. I'm trying to think. He lives near Dortmund. He lives near Dortmund, which is right up pretty far north in Germany. So he said, why don't you come over? We want you to come over soon. Or whatever. It's going to be convenient. So I said, okay, I'll just. So
you cancel the Corsica thing. So just one last comment about Genoa is how many dogs there are. It's like a total dog city, and there's an actual market just for dog leads, collars, coats, and jewellery.
Dog
You said there was just dogs, but on a lead. Just pampered, loads of dogs.
It's a pampered pooches look, And there was another quite strange situation where I'm walking about this market and it's a lot of dog stuff. There's other things as well, but mostly dog stuff. I'm a doggy person, but I'd never ever even heard of this kind of stuff before. And this young African guy comes up to me. And he's trying to sell me, and I did Salam Alaikum, and he's trying to sell me we carved elephants. I said, and I couldn't carry in. It was the situation I was in. The only thing I had all these bangles
for the girls,
for the bastard in the souk.
Oh yeah, everything
is a very good man.
€2.
Everything is €2. I only say that to get you in. This is a good man. This is a very good man. This is a dick. You still get money. I can do him for everything.
Get him,
so
guys.
That was all I had. I had the stuff for all the wee girls in my life. So I had that, and I couldn't carry anything else. Right? And I had fridge magnets as well for Claire. But that was it. So. And I don't want them anyway. And I says, La shukran, no thank you. And he goes, nous sommes frères en religion. We are brothers in religion. And I said, I'll see you.
Anything to get a sale.
I'll see, but you'll be buying your season ticket for Ibrox and maybe meet you there. So he was totally impressed that I could speak, funny words is that, 6-7 words I could speak in Arabic. But he was dumbfounded. He went away and left me alone. He just said that
still
and
in
buggered
shock.
off.
He's still in shock. That's probably the first time. That's probably a memorable thing for him. So you'll never guess there's an old white guy the day. But do you know what I mean? You can just imagine that. So next comes your experience at the customer services at the railway station where you're trying to think about this would be your trip to go to Germany, I'm thinking, or was this the sightseeing trip?
No, I was going to Munich.
Munich.
It was absolutely awful. Well, first of all, before that, I was getting a bus.
Or was it not after that you decided to get the bus because they were so rude and you just got nowhere?
No, it was the other way around, Christine.
Right.
I went to get the bus because I actually like the bus.
I like bus driving too. I like it as well,
You get more interesting views. Anyway, so I'm getting a bus and I goes into this really, really nice, it was a travel agent, beautiful travel agent, right in the middle of Genoa, and it was right next to where the buses leave. Right. So I walked in there and I think the woman, there was a man and woman who owned it, but there's a lot of other people there, and the lady who owned it, she's talking about where are you going to go, and she was very, very helpful. When do you want to go? And the price was good, and that was fine. And then she says, well, she handed me over to this young girl, a trainee who was about 18, lovely girl, lovely looking girl, very, very pleasant, spoke great English, and so she deals with it, so she does all the thing. I said, that's fine. I says, now where do I leave from? She goes, over there, there's buses there. She said, you leave from over there. That's great. But unlike me, I thought, I'm going to do the right thing. The day before, I did a dummy run, right? I said, how long is it going to take me to get, it's maybe about a mile away from my hotel. So I've got my luggage,
Oh, you're walking?
I'm walking. I've got all my luggage, my rucksack. So I walked here, look about, and I'd done it in fine. So I know what time to leave because I'm always too early, So I did that. And when I'm at... What was quite funny was when I did do it for real the next day, I was even earlier, So I'm there, and there's a McDonald's. So, and it must have been when the school's break or something, it was about lunchtime, and it was absolutely mobbed. I couldn't believe how busy it was with kids.
Yeah.
So I've got all my gear, and there's one seat, and this is I find this quite fascinating. There's one seat, and you've seen them before.
Yeah.
You're sitting, and there's about half a metre, not even that, but say an old-fashioned foot. There's a foot of table between you and the wall, and you're facing the wall.
Yeah, I've
right?
seen those seats.
And so that was the only seat available. So I'm sitting there, and it was debilitating to sit there and look at a wall.
Yeah.
And I love my burger and chips, and I just couldn't enjoy it because I don't know what it was. I just could not. I thought, I need to get out of this. This is terrible. So there was I saw a space, a good bit away. So I saw my gear, and I can't exaggerate how busy this place. And I'm dragging my gear through, and I've got get the road. These fucking kids, get the fucking road. So I get some of my stuff, and I puts it down, and I sat at a table, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting.
It's a strange one. I would never have thought of that. Would never have believed that was a thing.
I think, you would really need to think whoever did that definitely didn't sit in the seat before they.
It's maybe if it's okay if there's two of you, and if you're just on your own, you're just looking. It's only you get these type of seats, and you're looking out a window, which is a bit looking at a wall. Anyway,
too much.
I goes to where I'm supposed to be. And the bus doesn't come. And now the bus is coming for a long way away. So you think, well, it might not be in time. But I waited for about an hour and it never came. And I get talking to different buses that arrive in this area. It wasn't a garage, it was a big area, like a big square, a car park at a square. And I'm talking to different, and you know about this bus. And this guy, an English speaker, he says, the bus driver, he says, that bus doesn't leave from here. It leaves from the bus station. I said, where's that? He says, it's about 2 miles away. So this was already after it. So this was also, remember, this is only about 200 metres from the shop. The travel agents.
Yes.
So I walks in, and I can't remember the girls, it was Sophia or something, the girls, and I says, no, I was totally calm about this. I was calm, and I just says, look, Sophia, and I explained to her what happened, and she burst out of tears.
Yeah.
She burst into it. I says, look, do not worry about this. This is okay. Because I would imagine if that had happened to an Italian man, they'd have went berserk. Absolutely berserk. Because it's 100% their fault. Yeah. But I said, it's okay. Do not worry. But I'll tell you, the good thing about it was because I had behaved well in it.
Civilised.
I could totally civilised. Wasn't even speaking to her in an angry voice. I was just waiting for an explanation. So and so the lady who had originally come up, she's come up and she's kind of hugging her and that. And now they could have said, "We never told you that." They could have said nothing.
Yeah.
Even got the police if I'd gotten rowdy, and they said, "We accept this as our fault. What do you want to do?" I says, "Well, could I just get me a train?" I said another, but I said I need to leave now. I said I've left it. I don't want to go back. She goes, yeah, we'll get you a train. So I think they gave me money.
Sleeper.
They gave me money
for
about. I can't remember what it was, but whatever it was, they gave me something. A voucher. They covered the costs completely, right? So and it was something vague like the next sleeper. Which he says there'll be one tonight. Next sleeper to Munich, München. They call it München. Everybody in the continent calls Munich München. Everybody didn't know that. That it was just the Germans that called it. It's München. So I goes up to the what did you call it again? The place where they're supposed to deal with you.
The travel agents.
No, and the station.
The
booking place.
The booking office.
The booking place.
Yes.
Guys, I walks up, just one up. And it says on it, we're here to help you in English or something like that, So he goes up and the guy's got his back to me, he's got a guy behind him and he's talking to me. And he looks and just looks at me like that. You can completely growl. And I said, I'd like to get, this would get me a ticket. I says, could you get me a ticket to Munich? And he goes, you have to go to Milan first. I says, well, what about then? What happens after that? He was actually saying other kind of rude words. He goes, and he had a pencil. Yeah. And he goes, ask in Milano. And he throws the pencil down and he turns his back on me. And I went, fuck me. I think by that time I had used this to get a ticket from Genoa to Milan, right? So he'd already done that. And then I'm just asking him about 2 or 3 questions. But I just said, ask in Milano. And he turns his back on me.
How
he starts
awful.
talking to his pal. I thought, Jesus Christ, this is outrageous.
Jesus,
It's absolutely outrageous.
yeah.
So I ended up, I had about like a 5-hour wait in Milan, but it was okay. It was so, and that would get me to München from there.
Before, though, you did that, you decided to have a sightseeing tour in Genoa, and you noticed there was a real lack of cars in the city, and that because you said the public transport was so good that the parking seemed to be for scooters.
That's right,
and bicycles as well. Obviously, because people don't need to bring their cars in because the public transport was so good. And that you met a guy from Latvia called Chris.
Who I'm still in touch with. I'm still in touch with.
And the two girls was Caitlin and Gabby. One from Australia and one from Ireland.
That's right. And I was kind of talking to them off and on for a couple of years, but kind of, they never kind of, I don't mean came in, but never kind of developed into anything other than that. And the Australian girl was going to come and visit us. Aye, she was going to come in.
Nice.
And here, I don't know whether she got a fright or anything. I had said to her, look, I live in the Highlands. I told her, I had things up. I didn't have the phone. I think I had the iPhone. I think I had the iPhone when I went to Europe. I think Geraldine must have brought it over right enough because I had a lot of photographs. And I had said, look, and just to kind of reassure her, she was going to Edinburgh. Her name was Beattie, which is a Scottish name. Right. So I think she had maybe relatives in Edinburgh or something. So I said, look, I'll just get Geraldine to speak to her to show that I'm no some weirdo that's on his own and, take her somewhere. Yeah. So Geraldine spoke to her and she says, right, I'd love to come. And then she says, Geraldine says, I'll come and collect you in Glasgow if you want to get the train through from Edinburgh. And she said, I'll definitely do that. So we made arrangements. Geraldine was going to collect her and bring her up and she could stay for as long as she liked. But at the last minute, she says, no, I can't come. So I thought, that's it.
But they were part of your story. They were part of your story, and I think you spent the day with them. And by this time, you're signing yourself in your book as Don McCorleone at this point.
I forgot about that.
Or Silvio McCormack.
Did I?
I like that's funny. And you did a boat trip, and you were looking at the harbours, the containers, the Museum of the Sea with a big Spanish galleon in it. But you said the only thing that spoiled all of it was beggars everywhere. You said that would put a damper. It's
a thing that's really common in Europe, Christine. It's really bad, really, really bad everywhere.
And I've got in my notes here about the African man who rushed after you with a wee wooden elephant. But we've already told that story about saying you're my brother in religion.
I forgot about it. It's as if you need to buy an elephant off of me. What? Don't you buy an elephant? It was as if I dropped it. That's what it was like. It's as if he was picking it off and said, you dropped it.
I know. It's quite fly, isn't it? It's quite fly. But you said to yourself you felt that David Livingstone would have been proud of you. I thought that was really good.
Try to convert people.
And you went on the Genoa city bus tours.
I always do that.
Yeah.
I have the world's biggest collection of cheap earphones.
And how there's this kind of attitude about nobody speaking French, and you expected there to be a sort of a mixture of French speaking, but you said if you'd mentioned French, even like a French coffee, a coffee with a French
name.
Café au lait. Yeah, people were like,
No. That's
and that
really
was
strange.
Quite surprising to you that there was no reference to anything French whatsoever.
Well, I thought, I could speak a wee bit of French. I was getting by North Africa with it. And I thought, if Genoa's almost in the border of France. And I thought, they're bound to speak French. It's the nearest neighbour, France is a powerful country. In fact, it's their only neighbour if you think about it. It's the only land. Well, I think they border the kind of northeast part of Italy borders. I think Austria and a couple of the kind of Eastern European countries, but nobody. And it was quite an almost anti-French culture thing.
Yeah,
which
was surprising for you.
Which also exists in Germany, by the way.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Exists in quite a few places.
I like them.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say. I don't really know any French people, so I'm Switzerland. I'm on the border, on the fence. So, but just to finish off about Genoa, I thought that some of this was quite funny. You were talking about how stylish the Italian people were. Even the police were stylish, with it driving the Alfa Romeos, and the guy with his glasses on his head at 8 o'clock at night.
He was actually wearing them as well. He was driving them. I said, he reminded me of Lorenzo Amoruso. Remember Big Lorenzo?
I know, that's right. You did say that, yeah.
He's got
absolutely.
a job here.
So you couldn't find a pub because you wanted to watch the Champions League.
Very strange that there were no big pubs that let you get. You're Germany, everywhere I've ever been, even in Tunis, there was a big pub. It wasn't a sports bar, but it was a big pub.
Yeah.
But everywhere I went, it was really small pubs.
Yeah.
And one of the
more like bars, Stuart. Not really what we would call a pub, like a bar.
More up. Kind of more upmarket, you know, very plush, really, really nice places. And one of the ones I went into, the guy says, I mean, again, I couldn't speak, I don't speak any Italian, so I was a beer, and I said, "You speak English?" He goes, yeah. So he goes away and he brings me a bottle of Tennent's Special.
Is that a special brew, Stuart? That's what I used to drink. You know what they call them? Leg openers. I used to call them.
For fuck's sake. I wouldn't, no thank you. I actually, it wasn't like me, I was actually quite subtle about it. I said, no, I'm in Italy, I would rather drink Italian beer. And the guy was, oh, brilliant, you know, I fucking drink this
special brew. Come on,
you know. This is worse than Carlsberg Special.
I would have died without a special brew. Loved them. Wee bit of lime in them.
Oh, to soften them.
A bit exotic. So, and you would also be bewildered by the spinning out of the wee cups of coffee. How that really, people would sit for hours and hours of these wee tiny cups of coffee.
How did people make any money out of that? I mean, same in you know, the Arab countries as well. They spend all that time. I mean, bitter coffees.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So, and then there was the wee story lastly, just before we go on to talk about Munich, eating the overpriced healthy kebabs at €7, which you said were as light as a feather. Not what you're looking for.
No, I'm looking for stodge. I'm looking for sausage meat or something. It's fucking veggie kebabs. What the fuck is that? Who eats veggie kebabs? You've had a couple of drinks. But I did eat them.
But you were going on and on about how expensive they were, how overpriced they were for what they were. And I think they're probably hiding behind that healthy thing. That's why they were small. But actually, they were just fucking mean, you know.
Slabby pancake.
Aye. So this is you now, Stuart, going on, booking the bus and getting yourself off to Munich now to go and visit your friends.
It's a train. It's a train one now.
Where have I got booking the bus?
No, I was originally,
Oh, that was the original
plan. That's
what
happened. It went wrong, remember?
Okay, yeah.
Sent me to the wrong place.
So you're sitting in a bar, having a couple of beers, and this is at 9:30, and the hotel closes at 9. But you should have. Oh God, I've got all mixed up here with the story. Apologise, everyone. Let me just re-center myself. So off to Munich, or so you think. You're told about the wrong bus station. Right, so we've covered that as well. I don't know, I'm just way behind things here. That's because we started talking about this.
I'm in this huge station in Milan.
That's right.
And the thing that struck me was when you're looking, you know, in Scotland, for instance, how far can you go? However you're going to see something, you might be at London. You could go to Exeter in the train probably, but it doesn't say Exeter anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, so London, 400 miles away. It's a long, long way away. In Milan, you could go to Madrid. Madrid is a long way away. You go to Oslo.
I was just going to say Oslo.
You could go to Moscow.
Yeah, I just wrote that down.
Moscow. Go to Athens.
Wow.
Moscow from this railway station.
It's unbelievable.
Direct. You think, my God.
So exotic.
So it's obviously a serious hub, which I had no idea.
Yeah. So then you told us the wee story about the overdressed African man who was being harassed by these horrible porters, and how you had to really step in Milan station.
Aye.
Yeah.
Well, he was a very strange looking, an African guy. I don't think he was from any of the former British colonies because he didn't seem to speak English. And he was wearing a shirt like this, as a matter of fact, but he was wearing like a pair of tailored shorts. Right? Tailored shorts, aye. Yeah. And he had normal shoes on. No, you don't wear normal shoes with shorts, do you? And normal socks.
Right.
He just looked strange. And a hat, he had a kind of trilby hat. You know, well dressed in his own way, just strangely dressed. And these two, they were two Asian guys, they were Italian Asians, and they were speaking like porters, and they were really giving him a hard time. And they'll come back and they were ridiculing him. I was getting fucking angrier and angrier. And I thought, and he was waiting, he was there for a long, long time. I think he'd been asking him questions, and they didn't understand what he was saying, and they were really taking the piss out of him. So I finally cracked up. This is after hours and hours of this. Now I'm in Italy, I'm in a strange country, I don't speak the Gaelic language. I don't want to get involved in any aggro, right? And in Italy, everybody's talking dead loud. I know, there's a group of people near me, about 6 people, all in their 20s, and they're all talking to each other. They're all talking. And the men talk really, really loud, but they're all speaking. It's just a culture.
Shouters.
Just the way it is, So, and they were anyway, going back to these two porters, and they were doing something, and they were laughing. And I stormed across it, and I was tired by this time. I've been waiting a long time, and I was tired. And this kind of racism and humiliating people really
publicly, it's horrible.
Bugs me. And I went, you and everybody, I said it loud, I don't want to shout here. I shouted really loudly at him, and there was this silence. Maybe hundreds of people stopped speaking. So a lot of people really close to me. And nobody was blanking this. Nobody's taking any notice of this guy getting ridiculed. I'd hope somebody else for the station. Now, these guys were wearing uniforms, representing the railway station. You think somebody would come up and say, calm down, that's you two, or stop this. Nobody came near him, just me.
Awful,
So I said, you and you. And they're looking at me like that. And everybody's looking at me. I said, get to fuck. And they were like, and they just fucking disappeared, just completely went. And I went, oh, fuck. I can, somebody putting their hand on my shoulder here, but nothing happened. And the wee African guy who was frightened, he was actually frightened at the way I was.
Frightened of you?
Frightened of
probably,
me. He was a wee bit frightened. He maybe didn't understand that I was on his side. He didn't get it, but he just went. And he went away and sat down, and he disappeared. I don't know where he went.
Get out the road at you.
But again, what kind of upset me later on, about an hour later, and I'm for 5 hours, I'd been there about 3 hours by this time. But it was nobody's fault. That's just the way the schedule was, and the train did come in time. It came bang on. So there's like an Australian woman, and these two guys are talking. She's a traveller, and I must have heard her speaking. She must have been quite close to me. I heard her speaking, and she's kind of flirting with these two guys. And I'm thinking, what are you thinking about?
Dangerous stuff.
What the fuck are you doing? And she went away with them. I don't know where she went. I don't know if she went to a hotel, and I'm just saying she left with them. They took her cases and went away.
Off they all went. So, you did your best. I would have done that. What you did is exactly what I would. I couldn't bear to see anybody being ridiculed like that. So the next thing, when the train finally comes, Stuart, right? This is the funniest thing. I've not heard this actual statement for years and years. So you're behind the two Chinese guys that are all trying to board the train. They've got a lot of luggage and they're really struggling to get all the luggage on. And your response is, "For fuck's sake, lads, while we're still young."
Say that.
That's so funny. I've not heard that for ages.
Well, we're fucking young. Well, we're still fucking young. I was just as you say, Christine. I know the train did come again. It wasn't. It didn't sign. It didn't say on it. It was going to Munich or München.
Yes.
And this is something I didn't know as well, which is worth somebody else listening to. Is that because it was run by Austria. The German. I thought it was the German railway company called the Deutsche Bahn. And it was an Austrian company. That's why. But anyway, they only put they only put destinations on the board that are in Italy.
Interesting.
They don't put the others.
So once you get out of Italy, then come the new destinations.
So you just need to know. But again, it was a number. To this day, I think it was 141. The name of the train, and it didn't say anything about it. But luckily, I spoke to somebody. They said, this is it. Very nice. Polite. The way it should have been for the very start. Very nice. This is the one that goes to München.
But this is quite funny because you're giving it to these two wee boys, two wee boys, young boys, and it turns out you're actually sharing the accommodation with them, and you're on a sleeper. You're going to Munich, and you end up you're all in the same room or whatever you want to call it.
Because as I said, they were humming and hawing, and they're Chinese. They obviously they don't speak Italian. They're struggling to find out what fucking cabin they're in, and I'm behind them, and I'm chatting about this, I'm going, for fuck's sake, boys, well, we're
I loved it that he says, come on, for fuck's sake, lads. I mean, that's I think that's just great. I think that's brilliant.
And of course, I goes into the cabin and there's four. There's like four.
Two and two.
It must have been Christine. No, it wasn't, because I was in the very highest one.
Oh.
And there wasn't another really high one. I don't know how, I can't remember how it worked, but the thing was, so I goes in, I thought, I'll get the high one, and I'm sitting in it, and the two guys walk in. Hi guys, hi. But they were fine. They were just, and actually, I was speaking to them later.
Yes.
And the reason they were so confused was because they were touring Europe on the cheap.
Yeah.
And the cheapest way they could do it would be to travel at night, either by buses or trains, and so they didn't have a hotel to pay for.
Yeah.
But after about 3 days, you'd say, "Fuck this! I'm booking to the Hilton."
Absolutely.
But the strangest thing about that, Christine, was a young woman came in.
Yeah, I was very surprised with that.
Is she in the wrong place? You know? Fine, everything went fine. There was no problem with her. But I thought,
there's
it's
a
quite
sense
clever.
of riskiness about that, though. I would never, if I walked in and there was other guys, I would never dream.
Well, if my daughters did it, I would say under no circumstances do this.
Absolutely.
And because if that door shuts, it's shut.
Absolutely.
Anything could happen to you when with 3 men. Fuck. But anyway, after that, there's this big, good-looking Austrian guy.
I wanted to end with this. This is so funny. Called Jonas.
Was it Jonas? Is that his name? Jonas.
You said dyed blonde hair.
Aye, well, it looked dyed to me. But he's big, fucking perfectly good-looking. He's probably gay. Big guy, square shoulders. He looked like a 1940s movie star.
Yeah, you said
and
that.
And he had this like theatrical German accent, Austrian. He spoke like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
And he says, right, the first thing is we go through the rules, right? all these rules, right? So I'm kind of high now. I'm not tired. And he says, and the punishment is removed from the train. So he gets to about the fourth one, and he goes, the punishment is, and I said, removed from the train. He goes, yes. And there's about 20.
God.
And every single punishment is, the result is you get removed from the train. The most important one is you don't smoke.
Right.
There is completely no smoking on the fucking train, anywhere, in the toilets, anywhere. You will be removed. It's quite thorough. You get removed from the train.
Yeah.
Speaks perfect English, right?
Yeah.
And I just happened to notice that I think the last stop on the screen was Venice, which Venice is quite near Germany. It's pretty far north. So I'm lying to sleep about 2 a.m. As this big alarm goes off. And I could hear Jonas, he's got this big deep voice, and he's rapping the door and he's telling somebody to open up the door. And it's actually speaking in English. And the woman inside was not a British person. She was not a native English speaker. I don't know where she came from. She's maybe French, but she's speaking maybe it didn't matter. But she's not German either, because they're both spoken German. So she'd been smoking, and she says, I've not been smoking. Open the fucking door, the alarm's went off. Opens the door, a fucking cloud of smoke comes in. So she gets slung off the train, and she really did. And they dumped her off in Venice about 3 o'clock in the morning. Because I said to him, I says, what happened? I walked to him the next day. I says, I heard them. I says, I heard you through the night. He says, yeah, it's terrible. People do not listen. He says, they think we're joking, but no. I said, did you throw her off? He went, yes. She was removed in Venice. Imagine in Venice, fucking 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. And you said, remember, don't mess with Jonas.
Don't mess with big guy.
He means it. He really means it. So I'm going to bring this episode to an end, because this is a slightly extended episode, this one and the one after this one, so that we can talk a bit more about Stuart's adventure. So we're going to leave episode 3 here of A Bam Abroad, Stuart's adventure, and we will pick up maybe the last episode, but maybe not. Maybe not. There's a lot more to this maybe than I think there is. I think we could be getting a TV series out of this.
Netflix.
Yeah, definitely. Based on a true story. That's what they like to hear.
Say,
everybody says, is it based on a true story? That's what people say. It's a big eye.
Mine
absolutely.
Really is, though.
So thank you very much for joining us. I hope you're enjoying this epilogue of Stuart's adventures. We've got 1 or maybe 2 still to go. Thanks very much for your company today. Remember that you can find us on Instagram, on Facebook, and on the podcast you can find on Spotify and on YouTube.
TikTok.
So of course, TikTok. TikTok is very important. In fact, talking about TikTok, we have a follower called Woody, and Woody has asked about your tattoos. And I thought that maybe you would maybe just kind of show them. Where's your camera? Over there. You could maybe show your tattoos and, pull your arm up. I explained to Woody what they were for, but maybe you'd like to. Maybe there are other people who have noticed all your tattoos. They're very unusual. If you want to just end this episode by telling us, please.
Right, Woody, thanks for your interest. Right, what it was my wife and I, we between us, we have 7 children. Right, so one of my oldest son, Kevin, I had always said to him, "You do what you like, son." I had long hair, ridiculous hair when I was young, and I said, "You do anything you like, but don't get a tattoo." Of course, that was the kiss of death. His whole body's covered in tattoos. Yeah. So he says, I think as a joke, he gave me a voucher. Yeah. He gave me a 25 quid voucher for tattoos.
How many years ago is that, though, Stuart? You had it 20 years pre-millennium.
Oh, it must have been. It was a long time ago. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I had. Between us, Geraldine and I, we've got 7 kids between us. So I thought, well, I'll put their names on here. I thought, well, that's the least thing I can do.
So it started with your right arm then?
Yes, it did. Right. I didn't want big pictures or anything like that. So I thought I'll get 7. I'll get them 7 done. Right. So that was that done.
So what is their names and their date of birth?
Names and dates. I'm sorry, Kirsten. Yeah, right. The names and date of birth. Right. And I thought I'm only going to have young people after me. So I didn't want like friends or anything like that on them.
Family.
I didn't want anybody of my generation on it. Basically, that was it. So anyway,
but I managed to get in. Get in somewhere behind my own back. I didn't even know what was in it.
So I had the 7 kids, right? So the 7 kids get married, and the 7 kids had kids.
Yeah.
So and then I also have got my pal Andy. He's 2 girls and my goddaughters. So they come in, and then your son Ralph, who is my nephew, he get in. And
actually, wee Michael from Palm Springs.
He was just this lovely child.
He was gorgeous.
He wanted in as well. So,
and
I'm now doing requests. so over here, I've now got 5 great grandchildren, and they're on it as well.
I'm just looking to see.
Here. And so my wife gave me such a hard time for so long that I put a.
You put her on it.
I put her on it as well.
The very top.
And I says, I've got something to show you. She says, what is that? I says, I've got your name up here. She goes, have you? I says, but there's bad news. I says, what's that? I says, I got my first wife's name in the other one. But I didn't. That's a joke.
Oh, dangerous.
I didn't. I got Christine's name.
Yeah, that was lovely. I didn't even know that. So where is, I'm looking for wee Michael's name. I don't see
He's there. He is there.
Is he there? Right, I'm just missing it. God, there's so many to look at.
There's quite a lot.
What's that? Wee Wet?
That was our other nephew, his wife. He married a Chinese lady. Wee, her name is.
Oh, Wee.
Beautiful girl. Beautiful girl. Lovely family. Really, really nice. They got married in the castle.
They did. You were at it. I remember you going to it. Very posh. Very nice. Very nice. So here ends that episode. I just want to quickly say, and I know I'm speaking on behalf of Stuart as well, how grateful we are and really honestly delighted at how much people on TikTok are enjoying our clips, and hopefully we are directing them to see the full episodes on the podcast. But we are just really stunned at the amount of views and the interest that people have in the podcast, and we just want to take a moment to say thank you very much for that. So finally we're going to end this episode now, and we will see you next week. So it's goodbye from me.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. He's pure continental. So see you next. Okay. See you next time. Bye bye.